Hey guys, I just want to document some of the intake removal here. I got hand-fisted and I just cut this line going down to the brake booster. I couldn't get the clamp off and it was pretty stuck. It's pretty petrified and collapsed anyway, so I'm just going to replace it as part of the process. On this side, basically, I had to remove the lower intake boot with the AFM. There's two connections on the alternator down here. Sorry, it's a little hard to see. One for your, coming from, probably from the battery or the starter. I don't remember where it came from. And then a little terminal, 8mm on the bottom. This, I believe, was a 13 on the top. Take those off. That's pretty much everything over here that I had to pull. I pulled the injectors out just with the whole injector bar, the fuel rail, and just disconnected all the sensors over here at the coolant connection, took out the ICV stuff, disconnected fuel hose from the cold start injector. Then over here there was the connection for the fuel rail. I can't quite pull this harness out of the way yet because we got one line or one power cable going down to the starter. So I'll have to disconnect that. A couple things I've noticed so far. Under here, there's a spot where some grounds mounted. There's no nut on them holding the grounds down. So had a poor ground there. I mean, obviously that could be a definite issue with this thing not wanting to start on its own. Maybe not the whole issue. I mean, they're clean, but there's nothing holding them down. So I need to make sure I put that back. Just excuse that this loom's already cut open. I was fiddling around with this a week or two ago, just trying to trace stuff. We'll get that all secured when we get put back together. The intake manifold bolts, or nuts, I should say, they're 12mm, although this one's a 13 for some reason. And one of the nuts over on this side by this runner was loose. So again, more vacuum leaks. I thought that maybe this had never come off, but especially looking at this brake booster line, that they're all factory style clamps. I thought maybe they didn't take this intake off, but maybe they just kind of shoved it back, left that attached. I'm getting a little high off the fuel vapor, so we're gonna have to button that up here in a little bit too. And I'm sure it doesn't smell so great in the house, but we'll get them, put the lines plugged up so they stop venting. And then let me get these. There's 4 bolts on the top, or 4 nuts on the top, I should say, and I believe 4 on the bottom. That intake should come right off. I'll get a better look to see what's going on underneath. All right, guys, we have success. We have removed the intake. Really wasn't too terrible bad. You can definitely tell this was designed somewhere in the 70s. It's just hard to get the stuff. The upper intake bolts, all 4 of these, basically you had to use a box wrench. You couldn't get a ratchet on it. Maybe a swivel socket would have gotten in there, but it was pretty darn tight. Bottom ones you get in there okay with socket. Again, they're mostly 12s. If for some reason there's 2 13mm nuts on there, it should have been there. But really no big surprises underneath. So this is the one wire going down to the starter that I was telling you about. It's really bad. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. I mean, that's asking for all kinds of trouble, especially when I was trying to replace some fuel lines, and it's just not good. And then where is the alternator one? Kind of tangled on each other here. So this, I don't know what's going on here with this alternator side. I'm gonna have to kind of dig that apart, see what's going on. Maybe we can just get some heat shrink on it. Actually, it looks like they replaced the terminal. I might just look to see if I can replace this cable and both those 2 cables. I've got some spares from the E46. I might be able to take some off of the other E30. I don't know if they route the same or not. So as far as things that we're going to replace, obviously we need the intake gaskets. We'll put new ones out of those, clean that up. Can't really see in there, but they look okay. They don't look too grossed up or anything. half full of oil as far as I can tell, but like I said, I don't have any more light, so we'll have to get into that another day, but I think those are probably fine. I'll probably go ahead and replace, you know, these little coolant lines. I believe these just run up into the intake, just to help warm it up for emissions. So we'll replace those. Hopefully they're just a couple bucks. This power steering line, I guess it looks okay. When I was doing the fuel line, I did break one of the nipples off on this H pipe. So basically one side is being fed up to the injectors, and this other side with this braided covering is the return, going back to the tank. So I gotta order new one of those. We got another fuel pipe down here. This is some sort, I forget what this is. I want to say charcoal canister, but I don't think it is. But it could be. We might replace those lines, and then right back in here, underneath my hand, above that steering coupler, is where the fuel filter is supposed to go. So now that I got everything out of the way, I'll relocate that down there where it's supposed to be, run new lines up again. So no, like I said, no real big surprises. We might grab some belts. Nice, easy to do. It looks like someone put in a upper radiator hose at some point. Obviously those aren't OEM clamps. The lower hose, it looks like it's probably, it might be the original, I don't know. We might replace on those at some point when we do a coolant refresh. It looks like it's the original bare radiator, so it's probably never been done. But again, we won't get too ahead of ourselves with that stuff. Mostly just trying to get this thing to run as best as it can, and then we'll decide what we're doing with the vehicle from there. Obviously we'll do an oil change. I'll do a coolant flush. That the water that's coming out looks pretty grody. Or maybe we'll just top it off and then do a coolant system refresh down the road. You know, new thermostat, water pump, hoses. The radiator, I don't think they're as bad as like the E46s where they like to explode. So maybe we'll just leave that alone, or we'll see how much a new OEM radiator is. The intake we got down here. Again, no real surprises. I gotta see if I can find this hose. It looks like it might, no, I guess it is the original because it's got the original clamp on it. The little holder for the ICV is broken. I mean, we could zip tie it. It is still pretty pliable. No, there is a crack. Never mind. I think I did find a source for that pretty cheap. Hopefully they actually have it. This is your crank vent hose or crankcase hose. It is stiff, so that's gonna need to get replaced on. Underneath, again, this is the other side of that crankcase hose. This was what I was kind of wondering, this line here. I'll have to see what that is. I think that just goes between two of the T's in the ICV circuit. So we'll get new hose for that and make sure that's hooked up properly. Throttle body looks pretty clean. It does move, or it does open, I should say. I can't get my fingers on it the right way. There we go. So she does move, does open. So I don't know why when I was doing that, why it wouldn't actually rev or bog. You'd think you just, if it's not gonna add any fuel, it's just gonna go whoop and bog down, but it didn't even do that. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe there's something stuck in that 8 AFM and it's just not pulling in extra air, I don't know. This throttle position sensor, we'll ohm that out, make sure that's in spec and adjusted correctly. But other than that, I think that's about all we really need to do. And we can also test this cold start injector, make sure that's where it's supposed to be. We'll just do a little general cleanup, because the surface is good. You can kind of see here, we got a little bit of blow by. Like I said, both of these were loose, so we might have been spewing or sucking a little extra air there or something. That looks pretty nasty. Doesn't look like it was sealing. The other ones look decent. That one doesn't look like a great seal either, but we'll clean all this up, make sure it's ready to go back in the car, and figure out the reason why the throttle cables aren't working. I don't know where they went. But anyway, we'll make sure that they're set the way that they're supposed to be, so we can actually have a throttle. Replace this brake booster hose. Again, you know, it's all hard and needing to be replaced, so we'll take care of that as well. Really, other than that, I think we're pretty good to go. I think that's be a good little fun project for next weekend. And I do have a different battery out of the 91 that fits better. It's the terminals are actually on the other side. It'll keep it away from that bulkhead. It's also a lot easier to move in and out of the car when I need to. So we'll do that at some point. Just haven't really done anything else inside. Obviously, got the steering wheel fit. We gotta at some point start gutting this interior out and gutting out the other one. One of my goals was on, there was a novice day for autocross. I usually go and help teach. There was, I think on the 16th it was supposed to be, and unfortunately that got moved out a month. I was hoping to take this car, and just kind of bomb around, because it's not for any points or anything. It's just be a fun weekend and just shake the car down, see how it runs. But now I got a whole extra month, so I think we can get a little bit more done for that event. But that's still my goal. So we've got, I don't know, 5 weeks that we need to get this thing running on its own, moving. We got to get some tires. These things are ancient. The ones on the black car are at least 10 years old, so those won't work. But good thing they're 14s. They're pretty darn cheap. We need to check brakes. The other car's got some better springs, so we'll swap them over. I don't know that I'm going to worry about struts. I mean, I'm sure that the black car, the struts are probably better than these anyways. And this thing, as it sits, would be kind of hilarious. I mean, it's just all kinds of bouncy. So we'll get those other springs on there, stiffen her up a little, might drop her down a little bit. I don't know that we'll have the back end done. I'd love to do that whole rear axle swap and have the discs in the back, but I don't know if we'll have that done by that time. And obviously we're not going to have any paint and body work done, but it'd just be a fun shakedown. Take this thing out, beat on it, and see how it does. I mean, I'll trailer it down there in case you know, something happens. We can get it back home. I don't have to worry about a tow. But yeah, so that's just a quick little update on this stuff. I'll bring it back when we get the rest of the maintenance item for underneath the hood. I'll keep digging, see if I can figure out why we're not getting ignition. I'm sorry, not ignition, but we're not getting the DME turning on those fuel pumps. So we'll have to figure that out. I suppose worst case scenario, we could always put a switch in and run the fuel pump that way. You know, for a track event, that's probably not a terrible idea. You know, you can just quick flip that off. You know, if something happens, obviously you don't want something like that on the road. It's you know, the relay's there for safety, that, you know, if you're in a car accident, you can shut it down. It's not just going to run the pump and just keep pumping fuel everywhere. So anywho, I'm going to end this part of the video here, and we'll pick you back up when we get some maintenance items. Hey guys, I just want to kind of wrap this video up real quick. I think I've pretty much left off where we're at under the hood here. Just waiting on parts, unfortunately. This little M10, it's tough to get parts for. I wanted to get a bunch of these coolant hoses. I think I might have gotten this one. Either I can't get this one, or it's, you know, 2-3 week delay. I'm not going to worry about it. I just kind of want to get this thing running. I don't plan on leaving this engine in here if I keep the car. So just for now, you know, I thought having the intake off, I'd just kind of tackle some of the stuff, but I can't get it. I just can't get the parts. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to kind of button it up the way we could. I might see if maybe I can go to AutoZone and find something that's close that they might have that's universal. I did get the crankcase hose, the ICV hoses. One of them's no longer available. The other one, again, long lead time. The little elbow coming off of the intake manifold, I don't know if I still got it on here. Yeah, so this one here, I found a website that had it listed for 15 bucks. Everybody else was like 75 plus shipping. This place had it listed for like 15 bucks. Shipping was kind of crazy, 35 bucks, but it was still less than anybody else. So I ordered it, and a couple days later, they emailed me back saying, we have a pricing issue on our website. That's not correct. You know, you need to pay the difference. And I just said, you know, it's not right. I mean, you have something advertised. You should honor that price. And they wouldn't do it, so I just canceled the order. With their increased price and their crazy shipping, $35 to ship that little hose. And it seems like they're from the US. Shipping to US, that's insane. So I canceled it. I think I can get it from a couple other places, but again, it's 50 to 75 bucks. If I decide that, you know, I am just gonna kind of run this thing, sell it as is, then I'll definitely invest in upgrading and replacing that hose. There's another ICV hose, the same story, just can't get, you know, stupid long lead times. Fortunately, SCP Hero doesn't have all of these. If BMW has listed them as NLA, they just seem to not carry them. So I think we're just gonna have to run with it the way it is. I think some of the parts are gonna be here either today or tomorrow. Fortunately, I'm racing all weekend, so I won't get any work done on this. This hose for the brake booster, according to Real OEM, is just, it's not a formed hose, it's just stock cut to length. So I'll replace that. That's not a big deal. From the parts car, the black 91 318i, I hadn't even realized it, but I was missing the washer tank. So I got that swapped over here. I need to get a new clip for it. That's busted. It holds, but it's busted, so I'll get that. I also swapped the weather stripping for underneath the hood. It's kind of strange, my car, and I was watching Day Off DIY today. He was working on his 84 318 Ti, and it's the same thing, the weather stripping ends here. But on the 91, the weather stripping goes most of the way down the fender on both sides. This one on my car was pretty tore up and beat up. This is really nice and soft and pliable, so I figured why not swap that over too. I noticed when I was cleaning, I don't know if this is from this coil or not, but there's lots of goo, like a coil let go. This one, I'll test the resistance on it yet, but it seems to work. I mean, it fires, we've seen it run. So, you know, that probably will be on the list. I see some stuff, I don't think you'll be able to, but on the back side of the coil, it looks like it did actually run down from this. So I'll probably just order a coil for it. I mean, it can't be too much money. So we'll get that going. And the other thing I've been working on was the interior. So I've got both seats out. Sorry for the noise. Got both seats out, started vacuuming. I don't think I'm gonna swap the carpet from the other car. The other car is a tan carpet, and sorry you can't see, I don't have my light with me. This is a nice soft plush carpet. The one that's in the other car is kind of like a, I don't know, a tweed or something. It's not really attractive. So I might just clean this, color it black, because the new interior is going to be tan instead of the blue. So this is off of the 318i. I also stole a couple door handles because every single one on this car was broke. I still need 2 more. I also did get that back door working. The lock actuator was froze on that one as well. Swapped that from the other car. That's working. Also started to clean up the door panels, the inner door panels here. I'll show you that real quick. So I don't know if I showed them before, but these are gross. Just all kinds of full of just nasty, dirty crap. So I got that all cleaned up. I'm gonna show you this door. So that's kind of what it looked like before, just nasty and gross. I'd like to get that goo residue off still, but I've been trying some solvents on there. They really haven't touched it, so I might just leave it. I did try using a eraser wheel, and that worked really well, but it was starting to take paint off on the driver's door where I was using it, so I don't want to continue with that. Also, this was unplugged. I knew about that, this window motor. This is a different window motor setup than on the 318i, the 91. And I tested this. As soon as I put power to it, it just sparks. So it's probably got an internal short. I might try to pop it out and see if I can clean it up, get it moving up, see if there's anything obvious that I can fix. Because these motors, the couple places I found that list them, they're like 400 bucks, and that's ridiculous. I'm not going to pay $400 for a window motor. I tried to see if I could put the other window regulator type in this, and unfortunately can't. It mounts here and I think down in here, and the inner door structure is just formed a little differently to accommodate that window regulator. So we're unfortunately stuck with this. I'll keep an eye on eBay for a used one, but even those, they're 100 to 150 bucks, and then there's no guarantee that they work. I mean, they might say they do, but for how long? So I think the first step would be just for me to take this one out and try cleaning it up, see if I can get it to work. So there's been some other work I've been working on. And you might notice the entire rear end is on the ground. So the 91 car has disc brakes. The 85, this white car, is drum. So I want to swap that out as well. Also, the 91's got a rear sway bar versus this car did not, so that'll be a nice little upgrade for it. I might swap the fuel tank as well, because the 91 car only uses an internal fuel pump, where this uses internal and external. Not that that's an issue, I don't care about that, but when someone was working on this, they tapped a hole in the gas tank, and the way they routed the line, the cover doesn't go down correctly, the seat won't fit right, so it might just be easier to swap this out instead of trying to make that work. Here you can see the diff out of it. Sorry, I didn't grab my light with me, but it's nice and dry. I don't know what ratio this is. I think it's near 4 or over 4 to 1. It's pretty high for this being a little 4-banger. The old subframe, that's just gonna drop out of the other car. I might film that. It's kind of hard because you're just underneath the car. There's not a lot to really see, but maybe I'll film a little bit of that coming out of the other car. I've also sold the engine transmission out of that car, so I need to pretty much get the whole drive line out this I'm hoping today, but we'll have to see how weather goes. It's been kind of wet and rainy. And you can see our exhaust. I mentioned it, I think, in the other video where it was running. This back box is just, well, it's done. The pipe itself is in real good shape, so I'm gonna try to save that. It looks like it was just crimped on, so I'm gonna try to just kind of work it and knock the back box off. And then if I keep this engine in here, we will just reuse this, and I'll find either a replacement muffler or just a universal to throw in its place. So we're making some progress on this. The other car also has lowering springs, supposedly, so I'm gonna swap those out because these are just factory. I'll swap the front struts out. It definitely needs shocks. I think I dropped this rear end, I don't know, not quite a week ago. I pushed this shock all the way up, and it won't even extend on its own weight, so it's totally shot. But everything under here is really in good shape. Let me grab my light real quick, and we'll give you a little peek. The garage is a mess as always. We got a couple different cars pulled apart and projects floating around, so I apologize for that. But you see the wheel well area, real nice and solid. No issues there. Again, the shock just totally spent. And then even underneath, everything is really, really solid. So I'm really happy to see that. You know, the pinch welds I showed you guys before, those are all messed up. And that one little spot under the rear seat. Other than that, this thing is in really solid shape. So kind of excited to keep this project going. I hope I can get the engine running for you guys and moved under its own power. We'll have to see. Deadline, like I said before, was Novice Day at Autocross coming up here mid-October. So I'm hoping to trailer this down and run it just for funsies. See how it does. It's if you think about power, weight, this is just a couple hundred pounds heavier than a Miata. It's got a little less horsepower, so I'm gonna have to drive it like I sold it, like a Miata. Just carry speed, avoid brakes at all costs. So it'll be, I think it'll be a kind of a fun day. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, just kind of in a holding pattern. And as soon as we get some parts here, we'll get you guys back in here so you can kind of see what I'm working on and how the car is going. I do have a little teaser that, let me see if I can, I don't want to give the whole thing away. So my neighbor down the street, he's seen my hodgepodge of derelict BMWs and has asked me to work on his. So let me pan over here. Can you see it? Can you see it? That's coming to the channel. I've already got a whole bunch of parts from FCP Euro coming, all kinds of stuff. He's got some issues with it, which I'll go over. I'll do a walk around video to introduce the car, and then we'll talk about what we want to do, and then of course we're going to film the repairs on it. There's nothing really major. There's some safety issues. He's got a coolant leak that is the main concern why I came here. But I think it'll be a fun little project. It's a really nice car. I mean, way nicer shape than any of these two cars. Maybe a little nicer than my 330 Ci, just because it's had recent paint work. And then once that is done, he's got another classic BMW, something that's totally on my bucket list of cars to own. That'll be coming to the channel as well. So I won't give that one away yet either. So if you want to see how this car is progressing and see how the other car is, what we're going to work on for that other vehicle, you know, click that like button, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate all the new subscribers. It's pretty cool to see this little channel grow, and you know, we'll see where we go. So thanks again. We'll catch you in the next one.